everybody. Welcome to another episode of Yarns with Andy. Today I've got Christian Vanderpump. He's the principal fire engineer, Kirk Roberts, but more interestingly, he's not just a fire engineer, he's a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter.
Previously,
a microeconomist, and you've submitted papers to cabinet. Mate, this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you. And you left off, I'm also a chemist.
Oh, you're a chemist?
Yeah, I got a chemistry degree as well.
My team didn't tell me that.
Yeah, well, they've got to do their homework better next time.
Oh, shit. Somebody's going to get a slap on the wrist.
That's all right.
That's all right.
And passionate about constitutional administrative law, and I throw myself in the legal arena on those things as well.
Yeah, so you're a self-taught legal professional.
Yes, not a lawyer, but I do get into my own wrangles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Many years ago, started off as a student, as we all do, going to university, had a fascination with chemistry. So I went quite far with that.
Wait, can you tell me the periodic table?
I can give you a fair bit of it.
I could too, actually.
Yeah.
I've actually memorized about 60% of it.
Really?
Yeah.
You probably do better than I would, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't put things together and make drugs or make explosives. I can do those things.
You can?
Oh yeah.
You can.
Every chemist is a dangerous person if you upset them. So.
Oh mate, Breaking Bad 2.0, right?
It is
there.
Exactly. Breaking Bad is not that. It's actually quite accurate in some parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, my devious student days aside, when I was had a fascination with chemistry, and I went to started a PhD in atmospheric physics and chemistry.
Atmospheric physics
and chemistry, and looking at the role of carbon dioxide, but I picked the wrong supervisor. So wrong supervisor will break you ultimately, and so I went and did a master's in fire engineering.
Yeah,
and then for quite a few years, worked in the Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, the UK. Then a few years, as I was working across different countries, I always noticed problems in the construction industry, that inefficiencies and problems that never seem to happen in other industries to the same extent. So I always said to myself, what if there's some type of universal way of solving these problems anywhere? And so I went back, took out a year, did a degree in microeconomics. And then, like many people in Christchurch, I had to deal with earthquake claims. I was getting legal service I wasn't really happy with, so I threw the lawyers off and taught myself law, and dealt with the insurance companies, and solved my problems that way. And
seems like you're all over the place.
Yeah, life throws you problems and challenges, and you either roll over and die or get up.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and been a volunteer firefighter in the past, a volunteer emergency service responder, and I've just learnt over the years that to solve problems, and the thing that really drives me these days is regulatory reform. And I did a PhD. Nearly forgot that. Did a PhD finished about a year and a half ago.
You forgot you did a PhD.
Yeah, no, I forgot.
Is that what you just said?
No, I forgot. I was telling you. I was getting to that. I was about to forget. I was going to tell you
right.
that.
Okay, you did forget you did a PhD.
And I did it solely on what I would describe as a functional PhD. The research was actually to solve problems in the construction industry as far as I could. So if it upset people, I didn't really care. It's just a matter of trying to get it published.
You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, right?
Exactly. And I got there, and ultimately resulted in a couple of trips to Parliament and a research methodology.
4, I hear.
No, two trips,
four papers.
4 papers, 3 went to cabinet.
So the real reason we're here today is to talk about your PhD, and about your trips to Parliament, and how to solve some of these problems, or how you've solved some of these problems, and how people can actually learn
and share it. Yes.
Let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, happy to.
Yeah. So $5,000 a square meter, give or take. That's what the cost of building in New Zealand is. Why? That is a lot more expensive in comparison to our neighbouring countries.
It's a reason for young people to leave the country, sadly.
What's that?
It's a reason for young people to leave the country.
It's a reason,
yeah.
But what's led to it?
The root cause of the problem is the Building Act and the way it's administered.
The Building Act.
The Building Act. The Building Act is a very bad piece of legislation at the bottom.
Okay.
That's where the problems with the Building Act have been overshadowed by the Resource Management Act. And everybody says we need RMA form, RMA. Okay, that's coming. Bishop and Simon Court under him have got natural environment bill and planning bill coming out to replace the RMA. That looks far better than what we've got at the moment. Hopefully that'll go through. But the problems with the Building Act, such as monopoly control over the supply of building consents, which hopefully we'll dig into a bit later.
Surely.
And the way the Building Act has been administered, because there's too much bureaucratic intervention, and it allows for people to get there. It restricts competition in the way you can build things, and that is the problem with building. And because of the restriction of competition, the ability to, in all reality, manipulate restrict by manipulation. That's why we are where we are under the Building Act, and why we've got these.
So the Building Act's the real reason our cost of building has actually gone up to $5,000 a square meter, give or take.
Yes, it is. At the end of the day, the government set the rules of the game.
So let's just compare that to other countries around us, right? So you worked in Australia, you worked in Dubai.
Yeah.
And what would similarly, for a similar sort of building, what would the cost be to construct in Australia?
I couldn't give numbers. What I can speak to is procedural design freedoms.
Okay.
Because if you have freedom of procedure to design, by default, you're going to get an increase in competition. And that increase in competition allows the consumer more choices, prices come down. So in New Zealand, because we have monopoly control over the supply of building consents, and that results in basically no performance-based design flourishing in New Zealand, everything is by prescriptive instruments such as what's called acceptable solution and verification methods. And then below that, you have what's called material by reference, or as we commonly know, standards. And those are all prescriptive. They're not mandatory under the Building Act, but if you follow them, you're guaranteed a building consent. And if you want to go outside of that, like other people have tried to in the past, liability issues increase for the councils because they administer the building consent.
Well, that's their fear after the Leaky Building Act, isn't
it?
It
is. There's other things. There are other factors at play as well.
Sure.
That is there, but there are other factors at play. It's just easier to rubber stamp. You can put in your Gantt chart when you're going to get your building consent if you follow the prescriptive.
I've made a living of doing that for the last 20 years.
I know, but it's not the way forward. In Australia, they don't work to that. In Australia, they have private certifiers. You can put performance-based design on the table, and if they're good at what they do, you'll get clever stuff across the line. Not as good as it could be, but that's one of the key issues.
Is that what you do for a day job? You help people process consents quickly?
I design buildings, my part, the fire side of things, and then those plans and specifications go to council, and then we help them get the building consent at the end of it.
Is it quicker if I come to you to get a building consent, Christian?
I hope so.
Yeah?
I hope so, yeah. I can't promise it because I don't give it out. So.
Oh, you don't give it out?
No, I wish I did.
Now you guys know if you need a quick building consent process, give Christian a call, yeah.
More importantly, if you know where things are problems like that, then I can definitely show you a few tricks on how to solve problems that most people don't think they can solve.
You must be extremely busy in the industry today.
I'm getting a lot of queries from developers on how to solve problems, not really for fire, but on
general building consent.
On
navigating
how
the
to
law.
challenge what people thought couldn't be challenged.
Interesting.
That's what I'm getting. And it's coming to me through LinkedIn. It's coming to and then I get my private email because I say, I'm happy to have dialogue with you.
Yeah,
and they're saying, Christian, can you teach us how to do this or do that? And it's starting to trickle. It's starting to come in. But people don't think you can challenge status quo. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to your PhD.
Yeah.
So your PhD focused around government failing construction law.
It was primarily focused on fire engineering. The title of the PhD was Market and Regulatory Failure in Fire Protection Engineering. But the principles of market and regulatory failure apply to not just fire, but the whole construction industry. So there are basically theories and principles in microeconomics that I just took those, applied it to fire engineering, but you can apply it to any aspect of the construction industry or any other market for that matter. Moral hazard, adverse selection, monopoly control over supply, externalities, the list goes on.
Have you written a book?
I've written a thesis.
Thought about writing a book?
It's time between writing a book and versus what really has impact, and what has impact is using legal channels to solve problems. So, yeah.
So using the legal channels to solve those problems actually gets you out of bed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I can tell.
Oh yeah. I've got a dangerous skill set.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mate, we need to be friends here.
Oh, I'm happy to be friends, yeah.
Oh, yeah, funny, mate. Okay. So Kiwis today are being priced out of home ownership.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me the one thing that would actually drop the cost of that $5,000 a square meter to build, give or take, by at least 20%. From all your research, all your learnings, what's the one thing?
I would say dismantling monopoly control over the supply of building consent on the Building Act side of things, not the RMA. That is the number one thing that every Minister of Building Construction should be throwing everything at to take apart. And it's actually quite easy to do.
Wait, actually explain the problem to me. Explain the problem to everybody so we actually understand.
Okay.
Let's keep it simple and explain the problem.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. You come to me for a building to design you a building.
Yeah.
I do that for you. You've got
No. I go to a designer.
You go to a designer.
Yeah, I go to a designer. So I'm the principal.
Yeah.
I go to a designer.
Yeah.
I want a building built.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want a warehouse built.
Okay.
For argument's sake.
Okay, you do that. Okay, so you do that. If you want to do something clever,
Yes.
you only have a choice of one and nobody else to get that approval. And if they disagree,
Yep. So then the designer then submits the design to the council.
To the council
On my behalf.
on your behalf.
Cool.
And then if they say no,
Yeah.
and the right answer is yes, you can't go and get a better answer from somebody else because the Building Act doesn't allow competition. It does allow competition in that space, but it hasn't been happening.
So if I go to Auckland Council, there is no competing authority to Auckland Council.
Correct. Monopoly control over the supply of anything. We would have a Commerce Commission for a reason. And if each council was actually just a business and they all agreed to have their own territories and restrict and say you can't come to us, then the Commerce Commission would come in and start prosecuting because it would be anti-competitive behaviour. Yet we have Parliament pass a Building Act that goes completely against the grain of what the Commerce Act is all about.
Interesting.
So, it doesn't make any sense. We've got politicians that want to see the Commerce Commission do their job properly, but not the effect of what the Commerce Commission champion happen in the construction industry for building consents.
So what you're literally saying in simple terms
Yeah.
is that the councils have no competition.
They have no competition.
And they are the one-stop
shop. There's a small caveat to that. It's the offsprings coming out of the Building Act, but for 20 years, correct, no competition.
Yeah.
And I'm
so
not
they are judge, jury,
executioner.
executioner.
Sorry?
They are judge, jury, executioner. They
to
say
an
yes,
extent,
no.
yes.
Yeah.
There are ways of challenging it, but it's timely. It can be timely and expensive. And I want to be clear, you don't blame the monopolist. You blame the person blame the entity that creates the legislation that gives the rise to that effect.
So who's created this legislation?
Well, that comes out of Parliament House.
Okay.
They passed it. They
Yeah.
passed the Building Act 2004, and I think March 31, 2005, and it was a bad outcome out of trying to fix an even worse outcome, which was a leaky building crisis. Monopoly control of the supply of building consents isn't going to stop buildings leaking.
What is?
In that case, the problem was that they got their compliance documents, their acceptable solutions, and the standards below it. Those had errors in them. And if you built to those acceptable solutions and standards at the time, you were guaranteed a building consent, but you built to that, and your building still rotted from the inside out. That was the thrust of it. Because how do you explain?
But here's the thing, though, right? Okay,
Yeah.
So you've got a single point of control, which as you call
Yeah.
it, there's no competition for any council in New Zealand.
Yeah.
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 But ultimately, for the leaky home crisis,
Yeah.
you and me, taxpayers, we paid the price.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that's
No,
what's
we
not.
did. We did.
So yeah.
We did.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
a taxpayer.
Yeah. I was old enough then to be paying taxes on that. Yes.
Yeah, I just arrived in the country, so
Yeah,
I was paying tax. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not much when I came first, but I was paying tax.
Yeah. So, that's the issue with that is fundamentally what's known as a moral hazard problem. The people who created the mistake didn't pay the cost. And when you have problems like that in an economy, it can be horrific. So it was a moral hazard problem at the end of the day.
Okay, so come back to the consents, right? I mean, come back to the authorities processing consents.
Yeah.
The councils, as you say, have no competition, which is cool. What's the solution? What's the alternative?
Well, at the moment, there is one of the problems is you can actually have a private BCA. You can, but there's been trouble getting two things, as I understand, is getting insurance, because insurance companies walked out of the market under the 91 Act when we did have private building certifiers around, because they all found that they were liable for leaky building outcomes. So you've got the insurance market that doesn't like New Zealand, and that's not a good thing because we're not a big market to start with.
We're tiny.
So that's one of the problems, is to get the insurance companies to say New Zealand is a profitable place to insure. And that angle hasn't been tackled in any type of research or administrative perspective. So you can actually do it. The other way to deal with that, as I would describe as a temporary measure that I proposed in my thesis, that's actually starting to happen, I wrote this about this in 2021, is that you should be allowed to take your building consent to any council.
So if I'm building in Auckland, I could go all the way to Nelson and say Nelson City Council.
Well, you could just submit it online to Nelson City Council's online portal, because it's nothing more than an exercise in processing plans and specifications for compliance to New Zealand's laws. It's not a geographic specific application of the law. It's just legal thresholds that apply to everybody across the country. So why do we lock in each geography to their local council? There's no need to.
So why wouldn't you go one step further and centralise all councils?
Well, if you were to centralise all councils, you'd be back to the monopoly control side of things again. So we don't want that. We want lots of people doing the same thing, not one big entity doing one thing.
Okay, but as a consumer, wouldn't that really confuse things for me when I go, oh, who do I actually submit to? Do I submit to Nelson? Do I submit to Queenstown? Do I submit to...
You choose. Let them fight for your business.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what we do every day as a consumer. You have the power in the supermarket based on all the products on you. They're begging for your business, not the other way around.
So you're just taking the monopoly away and saying I can go to any council I choose.
Yeah. Timaru District Council is starting that up. They've realised that the Act doesn't actually prohibit that. But what I'm saying is, my honest opinion is that ministers on each side of the political spectrum should have been pushing that approach from day one. Because it's just...
Questioners, are they?
The ministers? Not from what I can see, no.
So all the ministers and the government authorities are really focused on the RMA? Yeah?
Yeah.
The Resource Management Act.
Yeah, I would say that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The RMA.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of noise coming out of the RMA. And they've been doing that for the last, what?
It's just ongoing. It's actually good to see something come out of it finally.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there ready to be passed. But the Building Act's been shadowed out badly, unfortunately.
So the Building Act's causing the root cause of the $5,000
yes.
a square meter
yes.
is nothing but the Building Act
and how it's administered.
That leads back to the individual councils that are actually administering it.
That's one part. There are other parts too.
Yeah, of course.
There are other parts too. But that's, if you ask me, 20% there. As a caveat to that, I'd probably throw in that there needs to be a major reboot in thinking how we educate graduates of universities and design schools, because they're not coming out thinking, how can I use law to solve my problem? They just come out mathematicians.
Before that, let me ask you something, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest villain, right? Is it regulation, compliance, consenting, materials, labour?
Oh, regulation by far.
Regulation by
far. By far, yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more? Why?
Well, it more principally arises from the Building Act itself, because that's really the law, and then the regulation itself. But the issue here is that even though we have a performance-based design legal architecture under the Building Act that allows procedural freedom, parts of the Act, such as Section 392 of the Building Act, which covers... That's all right, I'll tell you. Which covers liability for councils.
Yeah.
Okay. They are not liable for anything that complies with what's called an acceptable solution or verification method. And that's just prescriptive. And those things get updated only every few years, and it's quite selective.
Can you tell me that in plain English?
Okay. Acceptable solution is like a prescriptive cookbook that's issued under the Building Act, Section 22, Part 1, to be specific.
Okay.
You follow that cookbook, you're guaranteed a building consent. Okay. The contents of that cookbook is an outcome of specifically the chief executive who instructs staff in the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, MBIE.
MBIE,
okay. But if everybody follows that cookbook, you're guaranteed a building consent. But you can't innovate via acceptable solution.
You can never innovate.
No, you can't. You can't. But you're guaranteed a building consent, and councils are happy to give you a building consent because there's no liability for them, because under Section 392 of the Act, they're immune from liability if you follow an acceptable solution.
So where's the liability pushed onto?
The liability only happens with acceptable solutions if you actually don't follow them properly. And that's where you see many projects in the case law, where you haven't followed the prescriptive cookbook properly. There can be, I have to put a caveat here, where there's an error in the acceptable solution itself, like in the leaky building crisis. The liability goes to the private sector and also to the Crown, which basically means the government. So in turn, us
taxpayers.
In turn, taxpayers ultimately, when the private sector starts going bankrupt like it did with the leaky building crisis.
Okay. All right. There's a lot for me to process here.
There's a lot. It's a deep subject. To unpack all of this has been a very long journey.
So let's talk a little bit about your petitions that you've actually put to
Sure.
cabinet now.
Yeah.
So one was the MBIE determinations.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
What was under the Building Act? You're entitled, if a council says no and you think the council's wrong, you can take it to MBIE determination, which is analogous to like a tribunal, but it happens under MBIE rather.
So in simple terms, I've taken something to the council,
Yeah.
a design to the council. Council told me, nah, go away.
Go to MBIE determine and get a determination.
Okay.
Under
What does MBIE do differently?
Sorry.
What would MBIE do differently in the determinations?
Well, they just rule on whether they were supposed to be ruling on whether the council's decision should be overturned or not. So it's effectively analogous to a judge, really, but not judicial. The problem that was happening there is that they were taking on average 2 years to do a determination, and the rulings weren't good. So the
MBIE rulings were not great.
No, they weren't. They were known to be bad. I spoke to my local MP about this, and it was known amongst Parliament. So what I did is I wrote a petition to say that you could actually not have to go to MBIE and you could take things to the district court instead, because you should be allowed to go to court. And it would be faster to go to the district court and get a ruling than it would be to go to determination. Parliament said no to the change in the Act, but they did actually do a major reboot of the determination system, because under the Act, MBIE is supposed to do a determination within 60 working days. Give or take.
Yeah.
They weren't. They were taking 2+ years. Some were sitting in there for 5 or 6 years.
But that actually cost the developer more money.
It's a project killer. It was basically you didn't have, private sector didn't have legal rights, basically.
Okay, so what did change in the entire MBIE determination
They
process?
ramped up their ability to get out determinations pretty
faster.
Oh yeah, and the quality has gone up substantially. They're actually just working to the law. I actually recommend it to people now. So it's putting it on constitutional record and then putting it through a select committee, where the select committee, by non-partisan, Labor, National, maybe some others, they then send it to, in my case, they sent it to the Prime Minister's cabinet and say, you need to respond to this because this is a problem. And it got fixed, so yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, you're finding ways around the law, aren't you?
I'm using constitutional law and going straight to Parliament. Now you're allowed to do that.
Wait, so how'd you come up with the idea to do that? Like, I mean, I'm an engineer. Okay, so technically, let's put it to you.
Yeah, okay.
You're a fire engineer.
Yeah.
You're a volunteer firefighter.
Yeah.
Microeconomist.
Chemist.
Yeah.
Chemist.
A chemist.
I'm proud of that one.
I keep forgetting chemist. Yeah, I keep forgetting chemist. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you think to just go, you know what, I can't get my problem solved through here. I'm going to go straight to Parliament and submit a paper.
I discovered this pathway out of frustration. I was trying to get my work published in fire engineering academia. I wasn't getting a fair deal. It was a bit of a, you can't typically publish if you've got a dissenting view.
A dissenting view?
A dissenting view, yes.
Okay.
So I was disagreeing with a whole pile of things on the things I was looking at, and I realised I had my back up against the wall. I had to get publications out. So I thought, I still reckon I'm right. So I knew about these legal pathways because I'd done quite a bit of legal reading, and so I started using Parliament as my publication pathway. And that started, then after that, what I was doing couldn't be ignored.
So I don't think I know any other people, I don't know anybody else in construction that's actually submitted papers to Parliament. I don't.
It wasn't so much a paper, but an academic paper is just, introduction, methodology, findings, conclusion. You put it into the proper parliamentary form. So, but it's the same thing. It's just a research finding. And you're saying, but it's correlated to either bad law or bad administration of the law. So you're getting an actual bonus rather than just saying it's being published. You actually get politicians to do something.
And actually influence positive change.
Yes, you do. I actually think it's a far better way of doing things than just standard academia. But I'm in a dissenting view, and I've got people who don't in academia agree with me on that one either, but each their own.
Each to their own.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing you did, didn't you? It's about the Auckland Council producer statements.
Yes.
What happened there?
That's still
help me understand that. Is it still a hot topic?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's explain.
Jump in if I get too technical again, because I'm deep in this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Simple English.
Producer statement is a promissory statement where you say, "I promise this stuff complies." It was producer statement was a term in the 1991 Building Act. It has been 2004 Building Act came in, repealed the 91 Act. Producer statements are not in the Act anymore. It's not law.
They're not?
No, it's not statutory law. No.
why do all the construction companies get
Well,
PS
if you want to get into that
CCCs?
that's because the Building Act's administration of law, where I'm very critical. So,
Well, this is interesting.
it is. People should read my petition. It covers that one. But
Hey, where do we find copies of your petition?
it's on it's constitutional record, so it's all on Parliament website.
Can you send us some
I'll
links
send
so
you
we
all
can-
the links to all the stuff I've done.
We'll put some links and some posts for you.
Absolutely. And I looked at it, and the producer statement policy with Auckland Council wasn't. A government department or a council cannot go beyond the powers of what the act, any parliamentary act specifies. Okay, so a council can't
Simple
say.
English, Christian.
Okay, government department powers are constrained by Parliament by statute.
Okay.
So a council can't just come into your property whenever they feel like it. Police can't come onto your property without reasonable cause, or whatever the term is.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got to have grounds under law. Those laws come from Parliament.
Okay.
So there's no enabling section of the Building Act that allows a council to have a producer statement policy, because producer statements aren't in the Building Act in the first place.
So let's explain what producer statements are in the first place before we move on.
A producer statement is what's called I would describe as a promissory statement to say, I promise this complies. You don't have to check my plans and specifications when you hand it to a council.
Okay.
Councils
which
under
means, so then I'd go to a designer. So say I'm the builder.
Yeah.
I build a house, whatever.
Yeah.
I then go to the designer to get my producer statements.
Yeah.
He then signs off the producer statements saying that the house is actually built in line with the design specifications.
Yeah.
And that gets submitted to the council for CCC application.
Yeah.
That's what I understand.
That's right. Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Yes, you have.
Okay, cool.
You don't need producer statements in any of that.
I don't?
No.
So how do I get my CCC?
Just by following the Building Act.
Okay, so if I don't submit a producer statement, I'm not going to get a CCC. That's what I've
Then
that's
that
what
would
I've been
be
led to believe.
the petition. The government replied to my petition at paragraph 14.
Mm-hmm.
The government clearly replied that you do not require to do producer statements as part of the building consent process.
Why is 99% of this industry, or 100% of the jobs that I worked on, submit producer statements?
There are bureaucratic benefits for some people, and there's advocacy going on that is not consistent with what the rights are for individuals under the Building Act. We've got a whole pile of red tape. We talk about this $5,000. You're now touching on a specific. We just don't need this kind of red tape in our industry, and it's
We've
everywhere.
got a fuckload of red tape. Don't
I
get me
know,
wrong.
I know we do, and this is one of them. And I'm having a crack at tearing this down, because the councils have a policy in some cases of saying, we won't accept your building consent because you're not qualified to sign a producer statement. Well, that's shutting out competition, because the Building Act doesn't limit who can and can't submit for building consent, for the exceptions of things like restricted building work and dams.
And dams.
Dams.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You've got to have a proper engineer to do a dam.
Yeah,
we want that.
Yeah.
Okay. But everything else, it's an open market. Whether people agree with that or not is beside the point. Parliament sets the law. Common law doctrine of freedom of contract applies, because the common law fills the void of where the statutory law is silent. And so we just don't need this kind of red tape in our industry that has the effect of deciding some people can submit and some people can't. So as an economist, I couldn't leave this one alone. And I had a look at it and I thought, no, we need more competition in the market in every space. And so producer statement policy, was confirmed in government's reply that's not active. It's still active. It's still being chipped away at behind.
Trust me, it's 100% active, mate.
I know
on every single job that I worked on.
Well,
it's
the
active.
letter I've got from
how would I know the exact process of a producer statement? I haven't fully read the Building Act.
Yeah.
I've read bits and pieces of it, but not the whole lot.
It's worth studying. You start to learn a lot of powers that you have. So it's not. You can do it if you want to under the Act. There's no prohibition under the Act, but it doesn't. You're not mandated to do it. And
so there's PS 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
There's 4 types of PS
Yeah.
producer statements.
Yeah.
And all for different purposes of sign-offs. And it's mostly for passing liability from one person to the other, as I understand. But
it has an effect on liability that I
100%.
think most people don't really understand.
Well, I kind of get it's passing liability from one person to the other at a base root level.
It does, yes.
But I don't fully understand exactly how.
Well, take a PS4, for example.
Yeah.
Under the Building Act, a consultant...
What's a PS4?
Producer Statement 4.
Yes.
It's there for construction monitoring. You certify that the building work has been done in a construction sense. Under the Building Act, it's actually for the BCA to do the construction monitoring. That's covered under, I forget which sections of the Act, but it's there. I think it's 160 something, whatever it may be. I can't remember. But one of the roles of the BCA, I think it's Section 12 of the Act, says one of the roles is to do construction monitoring in terms of an administrative sense. A consultant can still do construction monitoring, but a BCA doesn't have the legal authority under the Act to force a consultant to do construction monitoring.
Okay.
If you do decide to follow PS4 procedure, the case law came out about 2 years ago whereby if what you do isn't correct, you're strictly liable for the deficiency. So the whole pile of liability gets shifted back onto the engineer. It's usually engineers that sign off on PS4s. Now, you don't have to take that liability under the Act. If you want to take it, go ahead and take it, but you don't have to. And so one of the issues is really just allowing the private sector to have greater choices of liability. Well, not greater choices, but what it is what you can actually choose to be like, what you actually not take liability more than what you have to. And that's not a dirty word. You don't have to take liability more than what the law requires. But the producer statement, the whole thing does shift liability.
And it's all about shifting liability end of the day.
Yeah.
So if I don't submit a PS4, how would I go about getting a CCC in accordance with the Act?
Well, it starts with the building consent. And at a pragmatic level, often because you have monopoly control over the supply of building consents, it's not that easy to push back. And most people just agree to it. I mean, I agree to PS4s most of the time. But for a big project, I'm far more cautious about what I do than for something small, because you're not going to have a problem. Usually not going to have a problem on something small compared to something big. But if you really wanted to pursue it, I've had people push back on PS4s by literally getting my government reply and putting it before the BCA and saying I don't have to agree to those terms as part of getting a building consent, and then I don't have to do a PS4.
Yeah.
So there are ways of saying no to do these things if you don't want to do it.
Interesting.
And you still get a CCC.
You still get a CCC?
Yeah.
So then where is that liability passed on to? And by not processing a PS4, there's liability now sitting somewhere that's not passed on to somebody else.
Well, if the PS4 procedure is not followed, then under the Act, it's what's supposed to be followed to start with.
Yeah.
And it's actually the BCA that's supposed to be doing the construction monitoring because they're independent. One of the findings of the leaky building crisis is that people were signing off on things that didn't comply because it was an easy way to get paid. So the government in the day came in and wrote the Building Act and said, sorry, the BCA is going to take over construction monitoring. That hasn't taken off in full the way it should. It's a big swing from private sector supply to...
So the construction monitoring is still sitting with the engineers today to sign off PS4s,
yes,
which then gets passed on to the BCAs.
It doesn't... if the engineers go bankrupt with joint and several liability...
It's a complex word, mate.
It's a complex world. I've read my law on these things. It's complicated, yeah.
So, Christian, you've successfully used Parliament, submitted 4 papers to Cabinet. That's all been accepted. Well, how does one go about actually submitting papers to Parliament to actually solve a problem and influence positive change in law that's actually going to impact people's lives?
Okay, what you need to do is, Parliament is a place of law. So the issue is changing the law. Law has an effect. It has an effect in an economy. So
massive part.
What it is. So what you do is, this is where the microeconomics is powerful. You collect the market evidence of the effect that you're observing, the thing that needs to be fixed. So the effect of monopoly control over the supply of building consents and its impact on the lack of performance-based design. I know how to do that, but that's just one example I've specifically done. Okay, so you collect the effect by empirical evidence. You can use the Official Information Act, but you must be dispassionate about how you go about doing it. You can't be selective, otherwise it'll get torn apart. You then tie...
Did you say you got to be dispassionate?
Dispassionate, yes.
Is that even a word?
You got to be independent.
Okay, independent.
You got to be
okay.
impartial.
Impartial.
Yeah, impartial. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you got to be impartial about how you collect it. You don't go biased, because that's lobbying, and you won't get anywhere with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You then tie the effect of along with the data that you have there to a relevant section or sections of the Act, or the decisions that are supposed to happen under the Act, but they're not. Okay. So bad decisions under the law or bad law and the effect, you collect the market. You tie the two together.
So you're tying the data to...
You do. Then you do your write-up and you explain what the purpose of the whole law is to be in the first place. All this good stuff is supposed to come out of it. This is all the bad stuff that's actually happening. And you submit it to, in my case, it's 3 times Petitions Select Committee and actually 2 times Regulations Review Select Committee, and they're independent. So you have to do some legal reasoning to show where the problem is. So there's a bit of law there. You can't shy away from it. It does help. They will see through it if you're not perfect at it, but because it's a constitutional procedure, and every person in this country is allowed to put a petition before Parliament. All you need is to get your local MP to support the petition, and it is on Parliament website. And you got the title, which is 80 characters. Then you've got a description of the petition, which is 300 characters, and then further details if you want 500 characters. So very, very simple. Convince your local MP this is a good idea. They'll usually support it, and then it'll get read out in Parliament, and then do what you need to do to show where the problem is. And I've done that several times now by applying various aspects of law with microeconomics, and it has affected change and affected positive...
No, funny, what you explained is nothing different to a delay analysis that I do. It's exactly what I do in a delay analysis.
A delay analysis?
Yeah. So what generally happens is if the contractor and the client are having a shit fight...
Yeah.
So I sit on the Construction Dispute Resolution Board in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a dispute resolution, right?
Yeah.
So it's nothing different to what I do.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The contract ends at 3910 or 3916.
Yeah.
There's contract clauses.
Yeah.
Right? There's condition precedent clauses there for delays that need to be processed, whatnot. And we step in as an independent. We get called on by one party or the other, but I'm always independent.
Yeah.
Sit down and process all the data.
Yeah.
What did you call it? Independently. What was the word you used?
Dispassionate.
Dispassionate. Dispassionately, exactly. Dispassionately. Yeah. I think I'm going to add that to my vocabulary.
I could be. Check it first.
No, it's becoming part of my vocabulary, mate. Dispassionately. Right? Okay. So we gather all the evidence of actually what happened, and we write a timeline of events that actually occurred.
Yeah.
From there, we take a program and we apply 1 or 6
it's
prescribed
basically
methods.
Scientific method.
It's scientific methods.
Yeah.
And we then come up with a root cause analysis, either cause and effect, cause, effect, impact, or effect and cause, one or the other.
Yeah.
And then we go, here's the findings.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. And that's delay analysis. And that's exactly what you actually described.
Yeah. And I put it before a select committee. And the benefit of that is you're going straight to the legislator. Mm-hmm. So you're circumventing the government department, because to be frank, sometimes the government department is actually the issue. They're not making the right decisions, or the right information is not going back to the minister. It's why we have what's called a separation of powers doctrine here in New Zealand. Big word. Here we go. Okay. Legislature, executive, judiciary. Our government is broken up to 3 co-equal arms of government. The judiciary controls the executive. Parliament instructs the executive. But the executive can do things that they shouldn't do. That's why we have laws to deal with that, like judicial review. That's so you could actually take these things to court as well on some things. But you can also use the legislature as a softer option, and that's what I've done.
So you've gone through the legislator?
Yes, I have. It's non-litigious.
It's non-litigious.
Yeah.
So you go through your MP, go through the legislator, and submit it to the select committee.
That's right. And it's all there. If people want to start copying what I do, the methodology is all there.
Hey, I'm pretty good at doing delay analysis, eh? I mean, not that I won't delay analysis work, but this doesn't seem very complicated.
It's not, if you understand the subject you're talking about, all you've really got to do is just make sure you're tied up to the law, because it's a house of law at the end of the day. The law has to be the problem, or the administration of it.
So who could apply this? And so you've applied it 4 times in different circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you just had to think about people in construction, who could take this and actually apply the exact same playbook that you've come up with?
I'm surprised that various technical societies don't use this, because in other industries they use it all the time. Federated Farmers, for example, they're very active on the legislative front. They look after their farmers by what I can see. But in the construction industry, it's just a void. Anybody can use it. I'm surprised that so I don't know why. To be frank, one of the things I've been trying to trying to get people to think about is developers start colluding together in a good way that the Commerce Commission won't get angry about, identify the problems and start tackling them and at the fundamental root cause perspective.
It's exactly the same, but you've done.
Exactly what I've been doing. And the template is there and the results are there.
Would you be open to publishing your templates?
It's all on the internet. You can just download it and copy as you like.
Oh, yeah, run it through Claude Code and away you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we need to grab some of those links so some of these developers can actually start benefiting from all the hard work.
They've already started asking me questions on how to do it. So it's starting to happen, which is good.
Are people asking about it?
Yeah, they are. They're asking me how to use this method to solve problems. Because take Murphy O'Neill, for example. He kept on going to MBIE, go to the minister. You're going to the executive arm of government.
Yeah. So a little background on Murphy O'Neill for Murphy O'Neill was a previous guest that you know.
Yeah.
And he spent about 68 months trying to process a single consent. That went nowhere.
Yeah.
And he got fed up in New Zealand and left.
Yeah.
Sad, but yeah.
He should have gone via what I was doing or a similar pathway, and he would have gone. I think he could well have solved his problems if he'd done what I've done.
Interesting. Who else could apply? There's developers, there's people like Murphy O'Neill who are innovators.
Architects, engineers, it's just available to everybody. So you've got to, the whole thing for me and what
identify the problem.
Identify the busted piece of law or the bad decision making.
Can I ask you, how long does it take for it to actually become law? And, from the time you actually submit a paper, what's the processing time?
You're looking at about 6 months, maybe less.
That's not too bad.
Maybe even 3. Before, you've got to realize you're dealing with the legislator, so it's political. So you might not get your first preferred option, but you'll get second preferred option, which is far better. I wanted the determination system to be optional and be able to go to the district court. I lost that. But the determination system was wildly improved. And they had no choice because I put all the data on constitutional record to say, Minister, what are you going to do about this? It's taken 2 years.
What sort of data did you put forward?
Have a look. You see here. The red bit is 180 days. The green bit is, and this is 2015, the green bit is 60 working days. Fast forward 2023. All
over 180 days.
Yeah. So it was not going well, and I put all that before them because I measured it all, and it went straight to the Prime Minister's cabinet. It also went to the Ministry of Justice to say justice is not happening on a fair basis for the construction.
And this is all pertaining to the consents that have been disputed, and that's gone to the MBIE's determination.
Exactly.
And the time taken by MBIE's determination to actually process this.
Yeah.
But I'm learning a lot here today. Eh?
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about the law. So, Christian, you're writing a reform paper on the inflection points for
the Australian
ABCB?
The Australian Building Codes Board.
Australian Building Codes Board.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. What's that all about?
The Australian Building Codes Board is a federal entity that writes the National Construction Code, equivalent to our building code plus acceptable solutions.
Cool.
That NCC, what's called as National Construction Code, NCC, then gets adopted under each state and territory's respective building act. Because under the Australian Constitution, the federal government doesn't administer building law. So the Australian Building Codes Board is not a government department. But they produce a regulation, and they produce that regulation without any enabling statute.
But that has to get passed through legislation?
That's the problem. The National Construction Code, they're basically freedom to put whatever they want in it.
Would that going through law?
Yeah.
That seems like a problem.
It's a massive problem.
Interesting.
So to give you an analogy.
So ABCB is
Australian Building Codes Board, yes.
Australian Building Codes Board is an independent body.
They are funded by each state and territory. Each state and territory cough in a couple of $1 million to have the the National Construction Code drafted, so that there is, in theory, it's easy to move materials and labour across each state boundary. So one law for all in terms of building code.
Across Australia.
The problem is that they have over there is the Australian Building Codes Board, and I'm just being quite frank about what I'm writing about at the moment, is that they are not governed by any primary federal statute as to what they can choose to put in the National Construction Code. And the bureaucracy is just getting worse and worse and worse because people say we need more and more and more. Do we need green buildings? Yeah, sure. But do we need to go green to the point we can't build anymore? No. So they've just gone way over the top. The Tasmanian state government has just come out with a damning conclusion on it. And because a $200 billion a year market with 2 million plus employees, workers work in this industry, if the Australian Building Codes Board go off track, the whole country goes off track. So they're actually in a lot of trouble over there at the moment because I've been quite frank, the Australian Building Codes Board have gone way too far. And I'm writing a paper for a highly influential public policy think tank that gets redistributed its findings in places like the Australian Financial Review on what needs to be done to basically sort out the Australian Building Codes Board and sort out the National Construction Code so that they've got actually something that's fit for purpose, which currently it isn't.
Interesting. So they seem to have like grassroots fundamental problems going on.
They do. It all comes back to how Australia is structured as how the Australian legal system works, because it's a Commonwealth, and each state agrees to work under the Commonwealth subject to the limitations of their constitution. So it's actually a constitutional issue for them, and they've got everything back to front over there in this front, and it's a problem that has been building up over the years, and it's now overflowing, and they're probably looking at, I would say, based on, I would say at least 6 months to 12 months longer in a lot of cases to get building designs and building approvals done than what it did in the past.
6 months more?
6 to 12 months based on what I'm seeing. Before then, to compare 5 or 6 years ago. Speaking approximately. I haven't done, but that's what I'm basically finding. And it all comes back to the Australian Building Codes Board not going off track.
That now adds cost onto the construction.
Huge. They've got a massive, they've got the worst housing crisis they've ever had.
They have a housing crisis?
They've got a massive house. Every house, just about every place other than the Northern Territory, a house is over $1 million.
Yeah.
And they've got queues waiting for houses like you wouldn't believe. And I've traced it back to fundamentally the Australian Building Codes Board's decisions that they've made that have gone into the NCC. They've just gone too far bureaucratically.
Similar to how Building Act is causing
in a different
line,
yes,
but
it
in
is.
a different way.
Yes, in a different way. So I'm writing that up at the moment.
ABCB. So what do you aim to achieve out of this paper? In simple terms.
In simple terms, basically, because this paper is likely to be written, a lot of ministers of parliament write for this paper as well, so they read about it. It's really just to circumvent. If you make a complaint to the Australian Building Codes Board, it gets filed with the Australian Building Codes Board.
Sure.
If you write a paper that goes in the Australian Financial Review that other members of parliament read both federally and state level, they get to see what's going on and what needs to be fixed.
It's interesting, right? So 5 years ago, I started strategic planning, and I set out on a mission too. I want to make the construction industry a better place for everybody.
Yeah.
Smarter, faster, better, better use of technology, interconnected data. That was kind of my core focus. So I went down a path of actually setting up this podcast with that very, very core message saying, let's share our problems.
Yeah.
So that way people are aware of it. I'm not trying to solve every single problem on this podcast. I'm just trying to get people to be aware of the problems.
Yeah.
And because I don't know how, construction sites.
Yeah.
Problems happen on one site. Team disbands, go on to the other side. Same problems happen all over again. And they don't talk to one another.
No.
Within the same company, people don't talk to one another.
Tell me about it.
Fucking happens all the time.
I know.
That's the whole reason I started this podcast. And then here you are on a completely different tangent trying to do the same thing, which is very interesting for me. Very, very interesting for me.
Well, I just figure if you start with, if you can get it to Parliament and give them an answer they can't say no to, you're on the way to making things go better.
Mate, on that note, thank you so much for your time and educating me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm confident people get a lot out of it. Trust me, I got a lot out of it.
I hope so.
I'm mentally drained right now. I really am.
I took it easy with you, so.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck's sake. I need to do more prep work the next time. Maybe we need to invite you back at some stage. But anyways, mate, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your time and for being here.
I appreciate it. And it's a great podcast.
All right. Thanks, mate. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.